how can you be sure that it was actually P. Diddy?
Because I was standing by the front door. I watched the entire thing out. I had no reason to believe that it would escalate to a shooting. It was just male machismo and bravado at first. A lot of pushing and shoving, raised voices, hands, but then I saw them reach in their waist and draw from their hips.
If they did ballistic tests and Puff had gunpowder on him, why didn't the police go through with charging him?
Reuben has not begun to see reparations for what happened to her life. How did NBC get to profit off of it?
Jennifer Lopez faces serious allegations as disturbing details from her past emerge. Reports suggest she was connected to a significant criminal incident involving Diddy, with both individuals initially avoiding consequences.
Days of deliberations, the jury now appears to be focusing on the gun possession and bribery charges against Sean Puffy Combs. This afternoon, jurors sent the judge 2 notes, one of which asked for a transcript of a phone message Combs left Wardell Fenderson, once his driver, now the prosecution's star witness. During the trial, Fenderson testified that Combs was armed the night of the shooting at Club New York and later pressured him to claim ownership of a pistol police found when they pulled over Combs' Lincoln Navigator as it fled the shooting.
And I just want to make you feel comfortable, you know what I'm saying? Make your family feel comfortable.
What exactly Combs meant by that is in dispute, but the prosecution claims the rapper offered Fenderson $50,000 or a diamond ring to take the rap for the gun. The jurors also wanted to hear a readback of testimony relating to Combs' former girlfriend, actress-singer Jennifer Lopez, who was in the Navigator when it was stopped by police. An officer testified that everyone in the SUV was ordered to put their hands on the vehicle, but Lopez walked away, saying she was going home. As she was being detained, a gun was discovered in the vehicle. At that point, a sergeant on the scene ordered everyone who was in the vehicle under arrest. The officer quotes Lopez as saying, "It's not my gun."
They are floating issues that are old.
Jaguar Wright told us that J.Lo is going to be investigated with Diddy. Jaguar Wright said that Diddy and J.Lo are both going to be investigated for the 1999 nightclub shooting where the victim said that Diddy pow-powed her in the face.
On December the 27th, 1999, a young woman named Natanya was enjoying a night out when tragedy struck. She claimed she was shot in the face by music executive Sean Puffy Combs, now known as Diddy. She was an innocent bystander who wasn't involved in any conflict. That same evening, rapper Moses Shine Barrow was present and ultimately served nearly 9 years in prison for the incident. Diddy, who was co-defendant in the case, was acquitted. Natanya, who was only 19 at the time, is now publicly sharing her account of events.
Having been shot by someone that was allowed to come into the gun when I couldn't bring in a phone, I would absolutely unequivocally like the case reopened. It needs to be reopened. And the saddest part for me is, had people taken what I said more seriously and listened more intently, 24 years worth of people probably would not have had to suffer.
Yeah, and I ask you this respectfully, just because I think people at home might be wondering, and I've never been shot, I can't imagine what that's like, but in the chaos of that moment, and it's a club and there's people all around, how can you be sure that it was actually P. Diddy?
Because I was standing by the front door. I watched the entire thing out. I had no reason to believe that it would escalate to a shooting. It was just male machismo and bravado at first. A lot of pushing and shoving, raised voices, hands, but then I saw them reach in their waist and draw from their hips. And I instantly turned to my friends and told them, be careful, watch out. And when I turned back, I know, and I've said over and over, I've heard the voice of God said, you are about to be calm down. And as I said no, I looked straight forward ahead and I watched the muzzle flash from both of their guns and I felt the impact to my face instantly.
Wow.
There's no doubt in my mind who shot.
When Natanya began speaking, observers noted Diddy's close attention to her testimony. This situation resurfaced when Jennifer Lopez became involved in lawsuits against Diddy. Some allegations suggest she helped conceal evidence of the 1999 incident and may have assisted in disposing of a weapon. The theory proposes that Diddy and Lopez blamed Shine to protect themselves.
What really happened with J.Lo, Shine, and Diddy, it became an episode for Law & Order SVU. A lot of money was made off of that. And guess what happened in the end of that episode? When they finally tracked down the starlet, who they were hiding from everyone, so she never had to testify, the male rapper took the charge. So the case was closed, and that's when she finally admitted that it was her that did the pow-powing. Ice-T knows a lot of people from that time, and he used to frequent at that club. He would have known all of the real details of everything that happened that night. Natanya Rubin has not begun to see reparations for what happened to her life. How did NBC get to profit off of it?
So after him and Diddy fell out, he started working with Jodeci more. I see. How you feel about the victim of the club shooting? I gotta ask you about this, man. How you feel about her coming out now saying that, you know, Diddy, he shot her and not Sean? How you feel about that?
Well, the way I feel about that, the case is closed, bro. It can't be no double jeopardy. It can't be no retrial because they already had a trial and a man was convicted for her injuries. A man already did time for her injuries. You understand? If they would have to go back and see that if there was ballistic tests done on Jennifer Lopez, on Puffy, God bless the dead, on Wolf, did they do ballistic tests? And then see if they did ballistic tests and Puff had gunpowder on him, you know what I'm saying? Why didn't the police go through with charging him? Why didn't the police charge him? She can say that now, and she said that I don't take nothing from the victim. I don't take nothing from the victim. But her lawyer should have advocated. I know Puff and Shine, they had the same charges. But like I said before, and like Sean said also, Sean said this also, because it's true. Puff had witnesses that come in to testify against Sean and say they saw Sean do the shooting. So her making those statements now, and the case is over with. It's been what? Well, how many years it's been? 15, 20 years? 15, 17, 15. Sean went to jail for 10 years. It was in 99, right?
Law enforcement believes the federal investigation into Diddy may expand to examine his past, including the notorious nightclub shooting. Many were surprised by the extent of Lopez's potential involvement. Natanya has consistently maintained her version of events, though some question her timing in speaking publicly now.
Oh, well, why would he shoot you? What did you do? Did you owe him money? And I'm like, class, pay attention. Bullets don't have names and they don't have predetermined destinations. Once they come out of the gun, they're gonna go wherever they go. And that's the thing about crime and shooting people. You cannot guarantee that what you're aiming at is what you're gonna hit, because you might be a thug, but it doesn't mean you have good aim. You might be a criminal, but it doesn't mean you have good aim. And that is exactly how I sit here today, because some thug criminal with an attitude and an ego that was outside of control decided he was gonna fire a gun in a crowded nightclub and shot me in my face. By the grace of God, I am here. The first thing I said when the bullet hit me, and listen, when right before the muzzle flash went off, when I had turned back to look, I heard God's voice say, relax, you are about to get hit, calm down. And when I screamed no, pop, pop, and it hit me dead in my face. And I never passed out, I never fell, I never cried, everybody started running. And just like when you watch a TV show or a movie and there's one person standing in spot and everybody else is moving in fast motion and that one person is just in that spot, whatever they do looks a little slower, but everybody else is moving fast, that's exactly what it was like. Everybody was running, trying to get places. It was chaos. It was chaos. When that door, the first few people ran out of the door flew open. And remember, I was in that line sight.
straight from the staircase, straight towards the front door. As soon as the bullet hit me, I threw my hands up and screamed out, "No, God, don't take me. I'm not finished raising my kids. I have work to do." I screamed that at the top of my lungs. I said, "I'm not going. Don't take me. I have work to do. I have to raise my children." And as I said that, the door flew open and I could feel that total rush of that cold December 27th morning air. It was freezing out there. And it passed right before the air. You ever watch Star Trek and they say, "Beam me up, Scotty," and they start to pixelate? My body started doing that. I felt my body pixelating. I didn't even feel like a solid person anymore. And as my body was pixelating, that's when the door flew open and the air rushed in.
Jennifer Lopez has maintained a glamorous public image throughout her career. While other former partners have made public statements about their relationships, Diddy continues to describe her as one of his greatest loves, and she once expressed similar sentiments. However, their highly publicized romance from 1999 to 2001 couldn't withstand the club incident. Reports indicate Diddy initiated a confrontation by knocking a drink from someone's hand, leading to gunfire that injured 3 people, including Natanya. She claims she was struck in the face by a bullet from Diddy's weapon. Both Diddy and Lopez left the scene but were apprehended hours later. Lopez was released shortly after, while Diddy remained in custody briefly. The case took a turn when Lopez testified that neither she nor Diddy possessed weapons.
I was putting my earring in, and my girlfriend Kelly, whose house we were at, had a big Rottweiler named Brick. Brick jumps up, stands fully tall, and puts his feet on my back, on my shoulder, and it knocks my earring out of my hand. The earring falls, goes under the fish tank that broke earlier that week. And so there were still little pieces of glass under there. So when I went to get my earring, cut my finger. Just all these little things trying to stop me from going out of the door. I go clean my finger, I get the piece of glass out, I clean it, I wrap it, put on a Band-Aid, put my earring in. As I reach the threshold, they're blowing the horn, telling me to hurry up. I step 1 foot across the threshold and a voice says, "Go change your shoes." Now, I knew it was God. God talks to me all the time. So I was like, if I change my shoes, I have to change all of my accessories. And God just repeated, "Go change your shoes." Now, I'm a stiletto girl. I would stand up in my beauty salon in stilettos for hours and hours on end. This particular day, I had on short ankle boots. I'm not a flats kind of girl. I don't really wear flats. Well, now I do. But back then I did not. Those boots that I had on were flats. The heel was probably just about this big and they were ankle boots, some snakeskin ankle boots. And I went back and I changed the boots. The boots I changed into, I had just bought them a month earlier around Thanksgiving from Bloomingdale's. And there's a story behind it. But what I had a girlfriend named Pat, whose sons were like the neighborhood guys that watch your back and all of that and kind of they're on the block. She asked me for a favor. I did her hair. She came back and paid me at a later date and gave me a gift card to Bloomingdale's. I took that gift card, went to the store, bought these boots. So this is bigger than just change your boots. It was an act of faith and an act of love for a friend that was repaid to me. I took that act of love that was repaid, went and bought a pair of boots, and those boots saved my life. I put those boots back. I went and put those boots on, which had a heel on them, went down to the car, we went off to the club. They were complaining, "You took so long, you're taking so long, we were gonna leave you." We laughed it off, we got to the club. We pull up to the block and there are 2 ambulances at the front of the block as you turn the corner, halfway in the street and halfway on the sidewalk on each side, narrowing the stream of traffic to 1 lane. And I instantly said, 2 ambulances, are they expecting somebody to die? What is this? Because I had never, ever seen that at a club or at this club. And it just stood out as so weird to me. My friends were like, I had just gotten saved. So they were like, "Oh, come on, hallelujah, don't start with all that." You know, making their jokes. You know how it is. I'm from New York. We got thick skin. I'm not bothered by it, but it stood out to me instantly. It was a very cold day. So when we got to the front of the club, there were lots of people outside.
Questions now arise about whether she provided false testimony to protect Diddy, potentially making it her most significant error. Shine, the rapper who accepted responsibility, claims he was defending Diddy. who then allowed him to face the consequences alone.
Did Puff ruin his life? Yeah, because Puff helped the prosecutor put Shine behind bars by getting the witnesses and giving them to the prosecutor so Shine could have that fall.
I was defending him and he turned around and called witnesses to testify against me, and he pretty much sent me to prison. That is the context by which you must always describe that relationship. Yes, I forgave, I moved on, but let us not pretend as if I was in Miami for Thanksgiving. This is someone who destroyed my life.
Jennifer Lopez may face serious legal troubles if these historical allegations prove accurate. She maintained that Diddy was unarmed, yet questions remain about their continued association. Some speculate that Diddy possesses compromising information that ensures her loyalty. There are claims that raids on Diddy's property uncovered recordings involving Lopez. Sources suggest that Ben Affleck, Lopez's former husband, may have been shown these recordings, causing marital difficulties. Reggie Brown alleged that compromising recordings of Lopez existed and could have been made public.
In about 99-2000, Death Row started to announce that they were going to put out a Jennifer Lopez adult tape. Can you tell me about how you guys obtained it, what it was, and why it never came out?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a story. So, there's definitely a tape out there. Definitely. So, of course, y'all know Suge was in jail. And as the groupie would say, Michelet was in charge. Okay. I ain't never claimed to be the president, so that's who should put in some paperwork in a deposition or something that obvious must. That Michelet was in charge. No, not in charge, the president. Who knows? But you ask anybody from any interviews, anything, from 1997 till 2002, even when Suge was home, who you had to go through to get anything done around Death Row? Anything. I mean, Suge Knight, personally, from his mama, sisters, his women, Sharitha Knight, anything from Suge Knight, David Kenner, any artist, anybody. Who did you go through? Who did you call? Who was the point of contact? Call Reggie. Even if you call the office, you call Roy. Who Roy gonna call? Reggie. Reggie would even decide from Roy if to put Suge on the phone with that person. And Suge will call me before he called that person. What that person want, Reggie? I don't care who it was. Any of those persons I just named.
While speculative, some believe Ben Affleck may have ended his relationship with Lopez to avoid becoming entangled in potential legal issues. Affleck is known for maintaining privacy and avoiding public attention, while Lopez typically embraces the spotlight.
J.Lo is just, I don't know. Every man she's been with has said the same thing, except for Diddy. Diddy's the only one that said she was a great girlfriend and how he wish he hadn't messed it up.
Nah.
How is that the only man in her life that had regrets about their relationship, but everybody else ran for the hills? Like, it's not nobody noticing that. That everybody else that's left her, oh, she was too this, she was this, she was that. But Diddy said she was perfect.
Maybe she was meant for the medal.
What happens if you're only perfect for the devil?
God.
What the does that make you?
Damn.
Look at poor Jen and Ben.
Poor Jen and Ben. Jen is...
She really thought she was going to make that story work. She was going to get her little white Irish Catholic boy, and she was going to be happily ever after. And on him and all of his white friends, and they were going to make, they was going to be the Rat Pack with a bitch. It was going to be great. Even Gwyneth Paltrow don't like her.
There's a
you know they want her out of the Hamptons. She bringing too much of the block to the porch.
It just is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is.
No, what it is she is the perfect example of what happens when you don't want to be yourself. She can't sing, but they got her a microphone and let her pretend.
So let me
She
ask.
was an okay actress, but you know, she was good at acting. She'd been doing that all her life.
There are rumors that Diddy and Lopez may have secretly married during that period, not for romantic reasons, but as a legal strategy. Spousal privilege would have prevented her from being compelled to testify against him in court, which could explain her silence throughout the proceedings. Lopez has remained quiet since Diddy's recent legal troubles emerged. Some believe she's attempting to maintain a low profile, but with recent testimonies and resurfacing allegations, serious questions are being raised.
And I just want to make you feel like comfortable, you know what I'm saying? Make your family feel comfortable.
What exactly Combs meant by that is in dispute, but the prosecution claims the rapper offered Fenderson $50,000 or a diamond ring to take the rap for the gun. The jurors also wanted to hear a readback of testimony relating to Combs' former girlfriend, actress-singer Jennifer Lopez, who was in the Navigator when it was stopped by police. An officer testified that everyone in the SUV was ordered to put their hands on the vehicle, but Lopez walked away, saying she was going home. As she was being detained, a gun was discovered in the vehicle. At that point, a sergeant on the scene ordered everyone who was in the vehicle under arrest. The officer quotes Lopez as saying, "It's not my gun."
Rumors in the media were swirling all over, and a lot of people wanted to hear from J.Lo about what happened that night at the 1999 club shooting, since Diddy's name was being plastered all over for allegedly being one of the people that discharged the firearm. Remember, you had the Tanya Rubin sitting there saying, no, it wasn't just Shine. Diddy is the one that had possession of this firearm and popped it off and it hit me in the face. Then eyewitnesses started coming out and talking about J.Lo and saying that they believe that she had a hand in this case.
Police charged Sean Puffy Combs and Jennifer Lopez with felony gun possession. Shine was accused of attempted murder and assault. Both men were released on bail. Charges against Lopez were dropped.
Diddy continues to pursue all available legal options, recently requesting another mistrial, which the judge denied.
To the Sean Diddy Combs trial, a new testimony from a woman who alleges Combs dangled her over a 17th floor balcony. Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katursky is at the courthouse with more. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning to you, Rebecca. An alleged sex victim is expected to testify here today that Sean Combs used lies, drugs, and threats to force her into freak-offs after the jury hears more from a different woman who claims Combs hoisted her over that balcony. This morning, a critical witness for the prosecution, a woman testifying under the pseudonym Jane, who prosecutors say began a secret relationship with Sean Combs in 2020 and spent years in hotel rooms for forced sex. Jane's testimony will follow the cross-examination of Brianna Bongolan, known as Bana, who described years of drug use with her friend Cassie Ventura. Cassie, all the way back! And she testified Ventura FaceTimed her before the premiere of her movie The Perfect Match.
I want to try something new.
What did you see? Prosecutors asked. Her black eye, Bongolan said. I was a little quiet, and I remember saying, I'm sorry. Bongolan testified Combs once hoisted her over this balcony after barging into Ventura's apartment on the 17th floor. For a split second, I was thinking about if I was going to fall. She said Combs kept yelling at her, you know what the expletive you did, before throwing her onto this furniture, leaving bruises. Combs denied it happened, and the defense challenged her account. Isn't it true you told the government just 2 days ago you couldn't recall the details of what happened on the balcony? A defense attorney asked. Bongolan replied, I don't remember.
A woman named Brianna testified, right, that Diddy held her over a balcony. Tell me about that.
Object. That did not even make it in the courtroom, bro. They objected to that you know what I'm saying? Because for whatever reason, for whatever legal thing, it was a lawsuit that was civil, that was going on. And they could not bring that into court. You only know that and because of the content creators who was there and people like me who was there, who heard the stuff, it got objected to and they couldn't even bring that into court. But you know what? The prosecutors were like, yeah, we know they was gonna do that. So we gonna go a whole nother route. And they got it in there. I'm gonna tell you how they got it in there. Because they tried to make Brianna seemed like everything she said, it was lies because of her use. Her still wanting to be around Puff. You understand? Her still going out to parties with them, even after she said he choked her, he beat her, he did this. But people gotta understand this. Until you around in that whole atmosphere with those people, you don't understand that the man that's the gold, has all the gold, makes all the rules. Now see, people don't understand this, and let me break this down to you, bro. If Puff hates you, everybody that you made friends with, everybody that knows you, they hate you. They can't show you that they love or got love for you. Do you understand that? Those people in that industry clique, they'll go out on Mondays and Wednesdays and everything, have parties. If Puff ain't f***ing with you, ain't nobody gonna f*** with you. So now, when them girls make up to him, it's not just for them to make up to him. It's to show everybody that's around that me and Puff is still cool so they can start back treating you cool. That's just crazy to me, bro. I don't even understand why they give a f, but that's how it is, bro. That's why those people keep running back to him, because they know if he don't f with them, nobody's gonna f with them in that industry around there. Whether it's parties, whether it's work, socializing, none of that. So when he hung the girl over the back balcony, that couldn't get into court because it was a civil suit that was pending or did like that. You understand what I'm saying? So they wouldn't let it in there. So what the prosecutors did was they got the text messages in there. So when y'all hear the news people out there, well, Brianna was lying, she was not telling the truth, she didn't remember this, she didn't remember that. Puff personal assistant KK and Cassie was texting on 9/30/2016 when it happened. Was texting. Yo, he put up, KK, we're gonna take care of it. We're gonna make sure everything's okay. We're sorry. He was drunk, he was high. We're gonna make sure she be compensated for her injury. All that shit, bro. All that shit is in text messages, and the prosecutors got the text messages in there. So now the jury might not see, you understand? Can't hear Brianna part of it, but they can hear the text messages because there was a civil suit. You understand? And he was paying her millions of dollars for doing that. So all these content creators, all these news people that said the girl was lying, she couldn't have been lying because the text messages don't lie. They brought in a federal computer analyst who got the text messages out of Cassie and old girl's phone that states that they was talking about it in September in 2016, bro. The prosecutor got bombed for that. Now the jury gonna look at it like, yo, they was trying to make this girl out a lie, but they was telling this lie in 2016, and not one person said that was a lie back then. But all of a sudden, in 2025, it's a lie. The prosecutor cooked their ass on that one, bro. Cooked them.
Diddy's legal team disputes the prosecution's claims, citing text messages that allegedly show Cassie was unaware of the incident until after it occurred. They argue that certain testimony unfairly portrayed Diddy as violent and dangerous, particularly to Cassie and her associates, despite being inaccurate. The defense also presented evidence of injuries photographed in Los Angeles on September 26, 2016, while maintaining that Diddy was in New York that entire week. Diddy's attorneys complained that prosecutors interrupted their cross-examination, especially when attempting to challenge testimony credibility. Diddy currently faces charges related to trafficking and transportation for illegal purposes. He has entered a not guilty plea, but questions remain about his prospects for a favorable outcome.